All right, let's touch on this issue of the national dialogue. And the Deputy President had something to say in regards to this national dialogue, that the technical committee has been meeting throughout. They're supposed to end on Thursday. And then the team is supposed to meet on Friday, which is tomorrow, to thresh out the real agenda. But the Deputy President had this to say.
Nothing will come out of those talks. Is a waste of time. I am telling you as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. So, nyinyi Wakamba, mungoje hiyo mazungumzo, mutakuja kutafuta sisi, because there is nothing.
Kibagendi, is this a waste of time?
You know, that is extremely reckless coming from the second in command in this country. This country has seen wastage and loss of life and property from maandamano. Yeah? To the extent the principals thought, and even the international community, the church, and even civil society thought it is prudent for these people to come and dialogue. And dialogue is not necessarily about anyone getting into government and anyone getting out of government. It is about how do we move forward in harmony. Like I've said in the past, this country needs to be weaved together. This country needs to be consolidated. However, we have such an aloof, reckless, and a deputy president who's full of impunity. Just listen to him and how big he is on being unfair in the way he articulates his issues. How do you tell Nyinyi Wakamba? You know, it is not presidential. He is at a different level. Yeah? And you know, we are not in campaigns right now. We are at a point we need now to transform this country. We need to improve on how things are done. When Raila talks about inclusivity, inclusivity is about everyone sharing the national cake. How can these discussions on such a matter come out with no resolution? Yeah? We have seen government appointments, 70 to 80% going to 2 tribes, which is unfortunate. And that is why Raila talks about inclusivity. It is not about Raila getting into government. Right now, I have a problem, personally. We sit in the health committee with my brother Pato. KMTC has the sole prerogative of placing students in their programs, whereby they recruit students and place them in the various courses that are provided. But right now, we have irregularly, using a presidential directive, and the CS aggressively supporting it, to push for COOPs to place students, which is against the law. They want to place students and do cherry picking so that the lucrative opportunities like nursing that are supposed to benefit Kenyans, as we speak, Kenya has been given an opportunity to produce 120,000 nurses in the next 5 years. Now, because when you apply through COOPs, through KMTC, it gives opportunities to all. What they want to do through KMTC, through COOPs, is to cherry pick and ensure these opportunities go to specific tribes. And we know this. Okay. So when a deputy president thinks he's exciting the masses with such reckless utterances, it is unfortunate in this 21st century. Yeah. We are supposed to be uniting this country. Even if nothing is coming out of those discussions, yeah, it shouldn't come from a deputy president. Okay. It shouldn't.
But Patrick, and you know, he actually galvanized it by saying that I am speaking as the deputy president. So is it possible that he knows more than we don't?
No. I wish to weigh on that matter and say this. One, when my brother says that the deputy president is reckless, the deputy president is not reckless. It's that Kenyans are used to hypocrisy.
So he's an honest.
Kenyans are used to hypocrisy, and the Kenyans are used to forming a cocoon amongst themselves once the election is over, a cocoon, a club, where we don't tell Kenyans the truth, where we form a club, eat and let's eat. Now we have a man who does not buy this cocoon and this family of politicians issue. Let me bring it closer home. When he says nothing will come out of these talks, I wish he said even before election, nothing will come out of this election. Because finally nothing came out of it. We had an election, people won, we are back to square one again. We have talks again after election, after spending all the money we spent with IBC and calling out a national election. A national election that was not conducted by William Ruto. A national election that was conducted by IBC, supervised and financed and by the head of state, the chairman of Azimio, Uhuru Kenyatta, who came to hand over power to William Ruto at Kasarani in the morning, accompanied by the family. And you know, most times as politicians, when you see us doing things accompanied by the family is when we know we are doing the right thing. And finally, we are back to square one again. The election was not done well. It was not done well. So the deputy president is just being genuine to Kenyans.
Yeah. And
some people want Kenyans to believe that we're having talks to discuss the price of unga, that we're having talks to discuss the price of sugar, that we're having talks. No, we are being ungenuine to Kenyans. There are no talks to discuss the price of unga.
So what are the talks?
These are about governance. These are about we had the talks again last election. Did they end up in bringing the cost of living down? They ended up with people sharing positions in government. So when the deputy president says nothing will come out of these talks, I support him. Nothing will come out of these talks.
Even before they've given out the agenda of the talks, and I see the Standard says
because the agenda is ungenuine. The agenda is not genuine. So, you know, Trevor, it's like when we are taking our sons to get wives.
Yeah.
The old wazels will sing around and say, tumekuja kutafuta mtu wa kuoshea mtoto guo, tumekuja kutafuta mtu ya kupikia mtoto yetu. The real issues are not mentioned for respect purposes. That's what is happening here. The real issues is not unga.
What are the real issues?
The real issues are not mentioned for respect purposes. And the deputy president is saying there are real issues here that are not being mentioned.
Yeah.
that Raila Odinga is arch and kin. And I don't know why these people don't understand him. He led them in this circus again last election. He ended up in government alone. Now he has carried them along again. He is doing backside negotiations. You see, like now he is abroad. When things get out a little, he goes abroad, sends allies to the president here and there. The deputy president is very light. Nothing will come out of these talks. We are wasting time for Kenya.
But how is that true? And yet the deputy president himself also said that there was a proposal to give certain parts of government to these people.
That is not.
That's why he is being genuine.
So he said that was ruled out.
So he was being genuine because he is saying, why waste money in Bomas while behind the door you come and give very specific demands that you want?
But it was ruled out. And the Azimio side says that they did not ask for any position.
No, but
the deputy president,
the deputy president, demands were given to government.
Can he call off these talks? He's the deputy president. He can advise his boss, they call off these talks if they think they are inappropriate. Trevor. And let me tell you, Raila Odinga has been consistent. I'm not interested in getting into government. This government is soiled. What we need to do, let's talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The issues are laid down on the table. Why do they keep taking corners and saying he wants to get into government? He's doing back end negotiations. And how does a deputy president say, kama anataka pesa ya kuenda kutumia hivi kidogo kidogo, hiyo tutampatia? How? Where is that budgeted for? That is unfortunate. We have the deputy president is almost kiddish in the way he carries himself out.
All right, Ruku.
Trevor, there's nothing that is being discussed at Bomas of Kenya that cannot be handled at the National Assembly or at the Senate in terms of getting it right as far as elections is concerned or IBC is concerned, in terms of entrenchment of CDF in the Constitution. Already is a process which is going on in Parliament at the moment through an amendment of the Constitution. I have forwarded an amendment of Election Act 2011, Section 24 and Section 44, to ensure proper automation of our elections. Going to Bomas of Kenya to say that there is serious things which can be discussed, I support the Deputy President 100%. It's completely a waste of time. And by the way, President has been consistent by saying there are two things which will not happen. There will be no discussion about post-election power sharing arrangements. And number two, there will be no nusu mkate and there will be no handshake. Because the people of Kenya made a decision in August last year, it was clear, it was firm, and government, the new government, was installed in Adebro right, well supervised by the instrument of the state, and even the international community came in. Therefore, there's nothing much which will come out of Bomas of Kenya, which is not already going on in Parliament.
So what's the point of all this?
Let me tell you.
To add a little on what you are saying, Honorable Ruku, the Deputy President was very clear. He said, Adaubia, I'm the Deputy President, let's wait and see.
So what's the point of this conversation?
No, you see.
What's the point? Is it just, if there's nothing, there's a stalemate on both sides. The government has said there's no power sharing, there's no nusumkate, there's no nothing. The Azimio side says that is not what we asked for. We don't want any of that part.
You know, for instance,
what is the point of this whole
For instance, when Raila Odinga is making claims that his team in Mount Kenya region, they want to expand the team of the negotiation, the two teams, the Kenya Kwanza team and the Azimio team, at the moment is making a proposition that he wants to expand to earn 2 more people within the team because Mount Kenya people are making his life a bit difficult. Which is this Mount Kenya people making Raila Odinga life difficult so that they want to be included in... when Mount Kenya people are asking the President of the Republic of Kenya, when are you going to send Raila Odinga to Bondo? You promised us during the general election that you utamweka kwa Urubaro and take him to Bondo. Please.
Raila does not need
Raila Odinga and Azimio team, what they need to do is to go to election. Once they lose elections, they accept that they are in opposition and they see our government is red. Next time, they try the Iraq. If they win, well and good. But the issue of always creating a crisis, because you know you have a following which doesn't ask very solid questions, to take this country into violent demonstration, that's why I've come up with the Assembly and Demonstration Bill, which already I've defended in internal security committee the other day on Tuesday. And it will now be going to publication so that they can be brought into Parliament and we do public participation about it. Why is it that Azimio people, Azimio members of Parliament, they are very good in complaining outside there, but they don't bring legislative proposals to sort out some of those things. My brother here has just talked about coups. Last week on Tuesday, I moved a motion of adjournment so that we can discuss about the issues of coups and university funding. And today at 10 a.m., the CS of Education will be in a committee of the full House answering questions from members of Parliament as far as coups and university funding is concerned. This should be done by Azimio members of Parliament. They are not doing it. They are not oversighting the government. It is us, Kenya Kwanza members of Parliament, who are serious in oversighting government, who are serious in bringing legislative proposals which are going to sort out some of these problems. If we do the automation of our elections, if we change the definition of what a ballot paper is, Trevor, for it to be optically scanned and tallied in real time, we will be able to get the result of each and every polling station by the time the polling station crosses. So there will be no issues of people overstaying in a polling station counting votes.
Okay. Kibagendi, why don't we talk about something else that is quite intense for the young people in Kenya? Simple unemployment. Why isn't this a conversation at the center of this entire dialogue? All the side shows we see is about who wants what and who's going to get what, but nobody's talking about the real issue.
Indeed, this is a big issue. The unemployment, I can call it a disaster in this country, is something that is about to explode. What you're seeing happening in Eldoret, where young people thought they would get opportunities by getting into these recruiting agencies or trying to look for scholarships abroad and stuff like that, is because of desperation. And this is, number one, it is because of what I can call, we have a challenge with the curriculum that we have. You know, the world is aging, the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Europe, America, and the Asian tigers. So what we need to do as Kenyans is to retool our youth to be functional in the in this valuable age, yeah. And number two, we need to retool our youth to be able to keep with the trends of jobs currently. We are pushing a lot of young people into universities, and what the universities are doing, they're teaching them using yesterday's curriculum in the 21st century. Yeah? So for us to deal with unemployment, sincerely speaking, while government can deal with the cost of doing business so that we have a few firms and companies and manufacturers coming to Kenya.
Yeah.
And of course, if government had proper advisors, they would be aggressively investing in agriculture, not throwing around fertilizer. Investing in agriculture starts from training all the way to production and value addition. That can take a number of unemployed youth. But when we retool our youth, we seek for human resource opportunities abroad. Yeah. And there are numerous opportunities abroad. However, the opportunities abroad are around certain skill sets. Yeah. And that is, number one, in the medical industry, especially nursing, clinical officers, doctors. The other area is plumbing, carpentry, electrical, mechanical, technical skills. Yeah. And that is where this country should be moving to. I appreciate, because when I was serving as an advisor to the current president in the former regime, this is something that he really pushed. Yeah. But again, you find that we have rogue agencies that are overcharging Kenyans as they send them abroad to take up these opportunities. We have a rogue immigration department that is not able to produce passports in good time, and a lot of bribery for someone to be able to get a passport in good time. And government, I'm happy through Parliament, we have a committee on diaspora issues that is trying to ensure these agencies are actually organized and oversighted.
But if such critical issues are not even on the table, then do you agree with your fellow colleagues that there's nothing that's going to come out of this?
Now, if there was nothing, the issue I have a problem with Ruku. He cannot talk for 30 minutes of the 1 hour that you've given us. Yeah.
No.
So on the issue of the issue of joblessness in these talks, indeed, even me, I'm surprised that it is not one of the issues. But again, in the issues raised by Azimio, they are saying the available opportunities in government, can they be equitably shared amongst all tax-paying Kenyans? Don't just give them to two communities like we saw with KRA, immigration, the teachers, the way they are being recruited today, and even the Kenya Army, KDF, that is recruiting next week. I heard the president gloss over the issue of recruitment of KDF, and I know what is going on is unfortunate, because they have sent a few opportunities to the sub-counties. And then a bulk of the opportunities are held at the national level, at the executive, and then they'll be dished to these members here. They'll be dished to Kenya Kwanza MPs to go and, we are living in an unfortunate era.
But if this were genuine talks, so then why don't you include the rest of the teams that are looking to be included? Religious groups have been asking to be there. Civil society have been asking to be there. Law Society of Kenya. Everybody wants to be part of it, but they've been locked out.
I want to say this, Obija. You remember I used to come to the show, I'd become very emotional. So I excuse my friends. With politics, you grow with time until these are not matters to become emotional about. On the issue of coups at KMTC, I need to respond to this because I'm the vice chair of the committee in the National Assembly. Yeah. When my brother tells me that KMTC can do a more national recruitment than coups, then that is shielding.
They have been doing.
That is shielding corruption again. Yeah. Because the president has come and said this KMTC thing that you do internally is not a national. Let's take it to coups, just the way people are taken in other universities. What he's telling you.
It's against the law.
KMTC, the vice chair of the
it is against the law. He knows it is against the law.
It's the same people again defending corruption.
We are not defending. KMTC has never been corrupt.
If you want corruption to be defended in this country currently, look for Azimio. They are merchants for hire.
Yeah.
There are merchants for hire in terms of defending corruption right now. And we understand it, a law in parliament that can give you a lot of money if you become a merchant for hire to defend corruption. So the president has said categorically that just like Moi University, just like Kenyatta University, just like Nairobi University, get students from COOPs.
But it's against the
and
law.
When that happens, we are able to pick everybody from across the country, because learning at Nairobi University, do you think it's tribal? Learning at Kenyatta University, do you think it has been tribal since it has happened? So the president has said, let it happen to KMTC also. Let it be done the way Nairobi University gets a student. He has talked about dishing fertilizer cannot help agriculture at providing jobs. And I want to bring Azimio to book that. The current president is the greatest cheerleader, is the greatest supporter of alternative training in this country. He has said we can't continue pushing everybody to university. We need to train our people on job. And he has really been on it every day. And I can tell you even the amount of money that is going to technical training colleges under his leadership right now is a lot of money. We've talked about, he said that there should be a whole process. The president right now is establishing agriculture aggregation and product aggregation at the local industries in every county in this country. And what I've liked about this initiative, it has not been taken to be a Kenya Kwanza or Azimio thing. Yeah. Because even Azimio governors have seen them, almost all of them have picked the idea they're starting the aggregation centers. So what the governors should be doing now is knowing what will be aggregated in these centers. If we say it's coffee, what are you doing about your coffee at the county level? If you take milk, what are you doing about milk at bringing the young people into milk and coffee and tea and sugar in this country? Okay. So within this 1 year, I can see the president has set the loot to end this employment thing. Okay. And this when the president started this facility for young people to get a little finances and do their business at the Aslafad, the same as Azimio people told young people, no, that is nonsense, leave it. How do you tell a young man who is selling eggs to leave something that he can get 3,000 in the morning and he starts selling his eggs? Okay. Right now, the FAD is landing at 8 billion Kenya shillings that has been loaned out to Kenyans. And the repayment levels are too high, even more than banks, because out of 8 billion given, I'm sure almost 4 billion, I saw yesterday, 5 billion has been repaid. And the same people told people this is nonsense. You start something, they say it's nonsense. They start something that will help them, they say it's nonsense. Okay. They have talks, and my friend says very clearly, he is also amused that joblessness is not on the table at Bomas.
Yeah. For that one, indeed, I'm concerned.
You are amused also.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. We're running out of time here, but we'll start with closing remarks. We'll start with you, Honorable Ruku.
Trevor, you know, my brother here talks about passports, and you know very well that if you want a passport, you can go to eCitizen portal, where many government services are offered on eCitizen. And that is and the Kenya Kwanza government has increased the number of services offered on this platform to automate and to ensure the red tapes in getting government services is decreased as much as possible, and even has come up with a number where you're supposed to be paying for the fees which are required by the government to get that service, in order to reduce the efforts of corruption involved in the past. On the issue of KDF, from the time the recruitment of KDF started, this recruitment of this year of Kenya Kwanza administration will be the most fairest recruitment ever done in our Republic of Kenya.
And how do you know this?
I know this because I know the position of the president. And I know the instruction which the president has issued to all the generals and everybody involved in the recruitment process of KDF. It is the most transparent, and any Kenyans, any young Kenyan just need to go to the recruitment centers.
On this one, I want to differ with my brother.
But it has not happened yet.
On this one, I want to differ with my brother. I don't want to see this recruitment will be the most transparent.
Yeah, because it has not happened.
I want to want those who do it. Let it be transparent. I don't want to defend it before it
happens. I have information from very senior quarters which I don't want to mention.
It is fine, but we know people at the ground usually sometimes go against what has been said.
Trevor,
so
call me back after this recruitment. It is going to be one of the most transparent recruitment ever done.
On that we
Transparency is this, Ombija.
Closing remarks.
Tell Kenyans, we are recruiting 2,000 officers.
Yeah.
Each sub-county is getting this much. Put it in the newspaper. Then in my sub-county, Kitutu Central, I will ensure my team is there to ensure that the 6 or 10 people that are supposed to be recruited from Kitutu Chache South or Kitutu Central sub-county are actually recruited from there. You don't hide everything and then you go give Kitutu Central 6 positions, you give Kisii South 5 positions, Nyaribari sub-county, and then the rest go to what we have seen happen, like what happened in KRA. And on my closing remarks,
but there are certain requirements.
Yeah, they must come up. They have requirements that people must come up with.
Yeah.
Those have to be followed. We don't want favoritism. All we are saying is this: can we know how many people are being recruited per sub-county? Because that is what used to happen. And then, once we know the per sub-county, we'll actually vet and get to know these people who have met the criteria actually come from this sub-county. You see, on my closing remarks, I want to request the Deputy President. I have tremendous respect for the President, William Ruto, who is one of the people who mentored me to be a member of Parliament. But I'm disturbed with the recklessness that is being portrayed by his deputy. We are supposed to be bringing this country together. We are supposed to be consolidating. We are supposed to be giving hope to our people. We are not supposed to be tearing it apart because you have had the privilege of serving as a deputy president. The other thing I would like to talk about is drug and substance abuse. I know it is not part of the topic we had today, but this country is sinking into trouble. We have a problem with drugs and substance abuse, which I appreciate Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is doing. Although he's focused on Mount Kenya, he's very tribal and he only thinks Mount Kenya. He doesn't think national, yet he's our deputy president. We need to aggressively address the issue of drugs and substance abuse. And this cannot be left to government alone. Members of Parliament, the chiefs and assistant chiefs, the DCCs, we all need to get involved.
Yeah.
Drugs are destroying families, drugs are destroying careers, and this is something that we need to take up and actually deal with. And I urge the Budget Committee to be able to, next time, put a bit of funds on matters to do with drug and substance abuse and mental health that is taking a lot of lives in this country.
All right. Patrick, thank you. Closing remarks on this discussion, but then I'll give you another chance for another closing remarks after feedback, because we have quite a number of feedback, so you
on
respond
this current debate, I would wish to say this. One, I want the Deputy President to continue with his current trend of leadership. It will cause jitters and laugh feathers here and there, because that's not what we are used to as Kenyans. Not Kenyans as politicians, because as politicians, I said we protect each other as a club. So he is not used to that. So I'll urge him.
You're admitting that you protect each other.
I urge him to continue like that. Yeah. Let not protect people. Yeah. On the issue of drugs, like my friend is saying, again, he thanks the Deputy President, but he has to attack him somewhere. Yeah. But the Deputy, you know, in leadership, you start from Jerusalem. The Deputy President would not have gone to fight drugs in Mombasa when Mount Kenya was dying at alcoholism. So if you don't start at home and you go to Kisii, they will tell you, now you came to fight drugs in Kisii, what is happening in Kiambu? So you have to start at home so that when you get out of Mount Kenya now, and it goes to Kisii, and it goes to Mombasa, and it goes to Western, nobody will tell him, you came to close our businesses, while in Mount Kenya you are doing the same businesses. So it's a good start.
Fair point. All right, let's bring up some feedback, then I'll give you a chance for closing remarks.
On the issue of Deputy President Trevor, we don't want Deputy President to be politically correct. Let Deputy President continue the way he's doing things in an unusual manner, the way it has not been done in the past. In the United States of America, we saw President Trump You didn't used to be politically correct.
But
let the deputy president continue.
But since you're leading at the country right now, isn't there some bare minimum expectations to you keep the country united?
Decorum.
Be presidential, have some level of decorum.
You know,
because now
in terms of uniting,
as a symbol of unity.
In terms of uniting the nation, the president of the republic is doing that very well.
They come as a team.
He's doing that very well. But also, we must give space to the deputy president to say things.
You know,
which
even
many
if people divide people,
many politicians will not be able, not dare to say.
Obija, can I define decorum to you, yes, to politicians? You see, when Ichung'wa stood on the floor of the House, and he says, Ababu Namwamba, you're not doing the right thing. So many of our politicians, even from our side, said, that is not decorum, we don't talk like that. We protect our own. That is what is called decorum in politics. So if you don't know what is called decorum in politics.
So your definition is different.
In politics, I'm saying in politics, when we are holding talks at talks to try and find the positions for a few people, and then you say, you put it rightly, you say, can I tell you, Kenyans, the talks we are seeing, what we are telling you is about Tunga is not about Tunga. Okay. We are discussing some positions here. That is lack of decorum in politics. Decorum is when we can cheat Kenya, and this is about Tunga.
The way you've been cheating.
No, that's what Azimio wants us to do. And the deputy president
has only one definition. It doesn't have a political definition and mwananchi wa kawaida definition. Decorum is about how you carry yourself out, how you talk, how you articulate issues. Tell me, what does the deputy president stand for? Other than divisive politics.
It stands for a country where Kenyans are told the truth.
Other than speaking in a tone that is tearing this country apart. Other than demonstrating that in this country, whether you pay taxes or not, those who pay taxes will only pay for those who are shareholders of this country. It is unfortunate. A deputy president, even William Ruto, when he was a deputy president, he had something that made him a national leader. You don't speak the way he speaks and consistently demonstrate that you are only a Mount Kenya leader and that you can talk down on other tribes. You Kambas must look for us. You Kisis must look for us. Nyinyi watu wa Nyanza amukutupigia kura, lakini tumetafutia nyinyi nafasi mbili. They pay taxes that actually pay his salary.
Okay. All right. Let me bring up, there's a lot of feedback coming from the people.
On that, I would wish to say something. On this issue, the deputy president has been very clear, and I support him on the shareholding issue. He said when it comes to appointing people in government, we'll appoint people who voted for us and the people who believed in our agenda. But when it comes to development, he said we'll do everywhere. But when it comes to appointing people, and when it comes to appointing people, and I support him, you don't appoint people who don't believe in your agenda.
Look here,
on issues of advertising for loans. On the advert that came on the paper, they were loans in my constituency, in my town. You don't get loans if you go around the town and ukule maisha yako alafu una expect kutangaziwa.
Let's take some feedback now, then come
back. Recently advertised roads that will be done in this country. Do you know of the so many thousands of kilometers, Nyanza got zero?
Okay. Let's bring up some of the feedback here and then close this discussion. Atanas Mavuti says, I agree with DP Rigathi. The talks are a waste of time. How will thousands of unemployed Kenyans benefit from talks on auditing last year's election? Office of the Opposition, Prime Cabinet Secretary, etc. All right. Ibrahim Bakari, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza should show seriousness and genuinely focus on the talks with the objective of unifying the nation. We have no time for petty politics at the moment. Kipto Ruto says, I concur with Rigathi that bipartisan talks seem unproductive. Parliamentary avenues exist to address all concerns from both ends. However, leaders should focus on solutions rather than ego clashes. Engineer Nazaro says someone of DP's caliber should be very cautious with his speeches or we risk dividing the nation along tribal lines with the negative utterances. Leaders should be reminded that they aren't speaking only to entertain their tribes. Kenya Minde says the same people who have sent Ichung'wa and his team to the talks are now out here rubbishing the same talks. Why then should such talks even continue? Okelo Mwalimu says it's becoming evident that the force against bipartisan talks is much greater than that in support. Those against talks fear that they'd be rendered politically irrelevant. To them, peace is their major enemy. They want problems always, as long as they are in power. Godi Baraza says the sports department must be retooled and positioned well because the same department has been giving Kenya great sporting exports that have placed our country on the world map in terms of excellence. All right, that's where we leave it for now. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. We ran out of time here. Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament, Bere North. Honorable Anthony Kibagendi, Member of Parliament, Kitutu Chache South. And Honorable Patrick Munene, Member of Parliament, Chukai Kambangombe. And mostly, thank you for all the feedback that you've sent through on the state of the nation. My name is Trevor Mbija. Capping up next is Cooking Tips.